Make sure we get everybody in here. Wait till my email pops up so that I can click on it.
Okay. Oh my God, this is really exciting. I can't believe I'm being interviewed by you.
Well, I'm just the guy. I'm nobody special. So, but
Well,
I look at you, Susan Bassi, a lot of people in this community. I hold everyone in high regard, because everybody's is in a fight, and you have your own fights that you're dealing with and your own things that you're dealing with, and you're a champion, for fighting for yourself. I say this often in my videos. When you stand up, for your rights, you stand up for everyone's rights. If you just
that's right.
comply, you make it
Mm-hmm.
harder for everyone else, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, all right. So we're gonna introduce Theresa Buccola. Is that how you say your last name, Buccola?
Uh-huh. That's right.
Am I pronouncing that right? Is that Italian, by the way?
It is. It's Sicilian. The way that they
Sicilian.
say it is buccola.
Buccola.
Buccola. Yeah.
Ah, I like that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Just so you know, I read a lot of Sicilian books in the past. I probably know more about Sicilian history, about mafia. I read a lot of mafia books and stuff like that, and
Oh yeah.
I understand how there was trade going on off the Mediterranean Sea in Sicily, and that's how they were able to learn how to counterfeit, and that's how they have unity when other people come from other parts of the world and do trading there. They got to learn how
Uh-huh.
to make that money so they can buy shit, right? Yeah,
Right, right.
yeah
Well,
it's
my great grandfather's last name was Vigilante.
vigilante. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. That might be one of the reasons for why, I turned out like this.
Yeah, that's freaking cool.
Yeah.
All right, so all right, guys, we have Theresa Buccola with us. And really quick, I'll ask you a couple questions before I will give you the floor and let you speak, and then we'll ask you questions as well.
Okay.
Um, do you have a book that you would like to recommend to the people?
Uh, for the law,
For whatever, anything. Could be self-help, law, whatever.
well, my favorite book of all time is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. Yeah. But as far as one particular book on the law, no, I have a bunch of different sources that I read.
Word.
So, yeah.
Okay. Do you have a favorite television show or a movie?
Blade Runner.
Blade Runner. Oh, the OG one, not the newer one, right? The newer one, I didn't really care too much for it.
No, the old one.
The old
The
one.
old
All right.
one.
Yeah, good
Certainly.
pick.
Yeah.
Good pick. Good pick. What about music? What's your favorite song artist or music artist?
Oh, it's house music.
Who? House music?
House music.
Do you have a
Uh-huh.
particular artist that you like?
Oh, Mark Farina is one of my favorite DJs. I love Prince.
Yeah, good choice.
I think, I don't. Nothing else is coming. Is coming to mind. It's really house music. So I was
House music.
big into the dance scene in San Francisco for many years. Yeah, I love dancing. So that's my favorite.
Word. We are getting some comments that we're getting a lot of buffering, which sucks. I don't know if it's my computer or what, but we might have to restart this live stream. We'll keep it going for a little bit um, and see what's up. I don't know. Plugging in my internet again, we've been having problems. Nobody can get no freaking internet in the house right now, and it's really stupid.
Yeah, like I wrote you, I had a hard time last night. It cut off, and I could not get back on
Right.
when we
Um,
were talking about Christo.
Yeah, it was kind of an accident. My grandson was getting ready for his wrestling tournament. He actually flew out to Virginia this morning, and he was on the treadmill. My son put him on the treadmill last night to make sure he's on weight, and it sucks. It turned off my internet because the treadmill was plugged in and it just cut off the electricity and shit.
Okay, got it.
Oh well. Um, but let me see. So you have fought certain cases. You've been arrested, and let me grab these pictures up here and put them up here really quick, and I'll try to
Okay,
bring them down so you can talk about some of these pictures. Can you see the screen right now?
I can. Hmm.
Okay, can you explain to us what we're looking at?
Yes, in 2020, City Hall, while giving orders to the Carmel Police Department, decided that they were going to close Carmel Beach. And Dave Potter did a vlog just a couple of weeks before, and they invited people from around the country to visit the beach. They said the great outdoors are always open, so please come. So tourists booked hotel rooms here, and they flew in from around the country, and they got here. And on the morning of July 4th weekend, the city manager by himself made the decision that he was going to close Carmel Beach. So they had roped off the entire beach like with police tape. They wouldn't allow people to park in the parking lot. And I called actually one of the officers that arrested me. I called him about 3 hours before, and I tried to talk him out of it. And he put it in his police report. The subject, they call us subjects, which I find interesting, like
Yeah.
things and they have subjects. He said the subject called and said it was her God given right to walk in nature and against proper morals to close the beach. And when I went down there, I really just went to kind of observe what was happening. And it was what I saw was really beyond rage. I could not believe what they had, how they were using really their standing army to, lay siege to a part of the coast. So I parked my car, and I'm not sure which one made me angrier, what they had done, or the obedience from the people, because there was a crowd that had gathered behind the police tape and they wouldn't walk past it. And I called to them, and the first few sentences I said, because I was seething mad, and I said, the beach is a gift from God. The state does not own that beach. We have to go down there and stop them. And I called really to the men. I said, you can't let a woman do your job for you. And I went stomping out there, and I was hoping, I had a glimmer of hope that I was going to get through to the officers. This is the people's beach. It's a gift from God. And it was probably, I don't know, I spoke with Officer Boucher for a few minutes, and no one came out to join me. They let me go out there alone, and actually a couple of people laughed. Well, pardon me, one guy laughed at me on the way out there. He said, "Had fun getting arrested, lady." And I
Wow.
knew, I knew that they had attacked that guy who we were just seeing a picture of. In fact, I got on a recorder. It was a lot. It was a live or a video I was doing, where one of the women said, "Oh my God, they just took that guy down." So he was just walking his dog in the ocean, and three Carmel cops tackled him. And then they came back to where I was, and they thought I was his wife, but
Wow.
I didn't know him. And the two of us were transported over to the jail. He was soaking wet. We were kept in handcuffs for 3 hours, and it was all under the pretense of us not violating the 6 foot social distancing protocol. And if you see the videos, it's safe because Boucher did not have a mask on. The woman that, they say searched you, but it's when you have a stranger putting their hands all over you, you're being molested. So the officer at the police department, Donna Maria, she was not wearing a mask. It had nothing to do with keeping us safe, but it had to do with dominating the people. And I had no idea when I went out there that it was going to turn into what it, what it wound up turning into, because it was really about maintaining our freedom and standing up to bullies. And then I went to the police department about 6 or 8 months later to pick up the body camera footage of that arrest. And then that's when I got thrown on the ground by Boucher again and a new officer, Maldonado. And they claimed it was for a warrant that they had for my arrest, but it wasn't actually a warrant. So I've done a deep dive into the ironclad rules that warrants have to adhere to, and mine had none of them. So it has to be signed by a judge. Mine was signed by a deputy clerk. It has to have a seal embossed upon the paper and a wax wafer affixed thereto. That's Civil Code of Procedure number 14. It was too old by the time they arrested me, and that is Roast v. Municipal Court. There was no oath or affirmation attached to the warrant. There was nothing, and in California, it is Penal Code 815, 815A, and 817, which require that it has to be signed by a judge. So, and I told them repeatedly, this is a defective warrant. You cannot arrest me on a defective warrant. And then I started asking for the body camera footage of those three. They were 3 active body cameras when they tackled Jay. And I asked for it over and over and over again. And the city attorney, Brian Pyrick, would offer false penal codes and case law in order to withhold the body camera footage. So I sent them what is called the litigation hold memo. In June of 2021, I said, you have to save all of these records. And they wound up destroying 2 of them anyway. And one of them was tampered with when they sent it to me in federal litigation. So their betrayal of the people has been lost forever. And I have a feeling I know why they did that. And it was because they don't want the publicity of knowing what they did to the people back then. So, and then I filed the lawsuit pro se in June of 2022.
So did you file the lawsuit before your charges, before your court was done with and all that? So you don't
Yes.
you don't have to wait to file a lawsuit if your charges are dropped or if you case is dismissed, right? Are you saying that the people can actually file a lawsuit before even it goes through the whole process, or?
You can. You cannot do it if you either pled guilty or you were convicted.
Right, or no contest as well, right?
Yeah, well, that's basically the same thing as
Right,
proving, pleading guilty.
right.
And I think it's called the Heck Doctrine, because I've read other cases where people do wind up filing Title 42s after they have done either, any of those things, and they immediately get shot down. So my charges were outstanding when I filed, and they had these 2 quote unquote warrants, but I don't call them warrants. They're instruments of human trafficking that were outstanding when I filed. And I attempted to, I filed the motion for injunctive relief. And I explained to my judge in the federal court all of the defects in the warrants, all of the defects in the criminal charges. And I was hoping that he would intervene and get rid of all of them, but he didn't. He shot it down. And he shouldn't have shot it down, but maybe I'll get into that in a second. So I was kind of in between a rock and a hard place. And let me say also that those charges, the motion for injunctive relief had been outstanding in the case for, I think it was 5 months. I filed it in October of 2022. And Judge Cousins waited until my birthday
Wow.
to deny it.
Wow. They do that kind of shit on purpose, huh? Just to like
They
slap in
sure
the
do.
face.
They sure do. He waited until my birthday to deny it. So I think it was about 6 days later, I thought, okay, well, I'm going to have to do something about these charges and these warrants, because if I go to depose them, if I go into federal court, I could be arrested again. And I took about 2 months, and it was really difficult during that time trying to figure out how to get rid of all this stuff that they had attached to me. So again, I took a deep dive into the real inner workings of the court, and I filed something called a writ of mandate and or prohibition or other appropriate relief. And that took me 2 months solid of working. And I've done an interview on Crow 777. I think they did it July 23rd of 2023. And it was 39 pages with 100 pages of exhibits. And I couldn't figure out which court I was going to file them in. I kept, re-editing the margins. I mean, it took a lot of work. So I filed it with the Appellate Superior Court in Monterey County, and they denied it. And then I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I can't unwind from these. And I went into court in the Superior Court of Monterey County the next day. No, pardon me, I think it was 3 weeks later. And I scheduled an appearance where I went back into court, and I just uttered a few words from the writ of mandate. It was really interesting. And the judge threatened again. He threatened me twice. He said, there's a warrant out for your arrest, and we have to deal with this. I just have to make sure that you understand your situation. And I said, objection. You offered that the matter would be recalled the last time I came in here, and I did not consent to your offer. And then the DA interrupted me, and she said, Your Honor, I feel like we could save the court a lot of time. We're going to dismiss all the charges against Ms. Baccola in furtherance of justice. And the judge said, do you have any objection? I was like, I don't have any objection. And I walked out. It might have been one of the greatest days of my life, because a lot of people told me you should hire an attorney, and I thought, I am not pleading. There's nothing that anybody can do that's going to tell me to plead to standing on a public beach, because what Carmel City Hall and the police department charged me with was entering a disaster area.
What? Jesus, a disaster area.
Entering a disaster area.
Wow.
Yeah, Penal Code 409.5. So I also really pulled apart Penal Code 409.5. I read the Carmel Police Department policy manual, and then Officer Johnson went into my purse. And it's really, it's humiliating when you get arrested, that they just feel as though they can pull your purse off your shoulder and a strange man can start digging through it. And it's so vile. And it's a big joke to them. So he went into my purse and he found bear mace.
Wow.
And they charged me with selling and possessing a tear gas weapon.
What the hell?
And I was facing up to a year in jail for that. And then I also figured out that, and they did this in California, because I believe they did this to SLO Observer. They charged him with possession of a tear gas weapon. And bear mace and tear gas are two entirely different chemical compositions. And the active ingredient in bear mace is like capsicum, and the one in tear gas is a long man-made chemical. And so they charged me with selling and possessing of a weapon that I didn't have. So that was also in the writ of mandate. And then I took a deep dive into Penal Code 148A1, which is the one that the cops in California just love to attach to people. And so I was able to get all the charges dismissed. Yeah.
Wow. One of the reasons why, excuse me, one of the reasons why I wanted to interview you and I wanted to talk to you is because there are a lot of situations where auditors or cop watchers or just journalists, right? I'm sure you didn't consider yourself any of the labels that I just mentioned. Maybe a journalist, but you're just out there, one of the people recording and stuff like that. A lot of times we get our rights violated. If the cops, if it's not on video and the cops don't beat the crap out of us, and if we not broken arms and busted eyes and head and all that, lawyers don't want to take our cases because there's just not enough money in it for them. And a lot of us find ourselves not knowing how to fight for our rights, not knowing how to defend ourselves, and we get caught up in the system that's basically designed for us to lose because we don't know shit if we don't have an attorney, right?
Right.
So I began to see, like, for instance, a couple channels, Long Island Audits and Lackluster. They created this, I forget what it's called, this app where you can, it'll call a lawyer or whatever if you get pulled over or whatnot. And then I heard James Freeman talk about the app and say, well, that app is for people who don't know their rights or don't know the law. And I was like, it makes sense. You got to say that these guys are trying to do a good thing to help people. But I also believe that is a form of dependency as well. Mm-hmm. Especially because we people cannot really afford, we can't afford lawyers. Bottom line, we can't afford it. Even though we're the ones that are paying for cops, lawyers, government's lawyers, whenever something happens, we pay for their attorneys. And we pay for the lawsuits as well. I think it is extremely important to learn and understand how to defend ourselves in court. Whether it's civil court or criminal court, we don't understand the language of the courts. And we need to truly understand procedure, as you were just talking about. And I think that we really need to have some kind of an area where we can all go to when somebody gets arrested, when this happens. I think it's important to prepare yourself. I spoke to a gentleman yesterday who him and his wife were arrested, and they're facing charges. They have money to pay for a lawyer, but the lawyers don't even want to take his case with the money. Like I said, bro, why don't you just use a public defender and get all the penal codes and then get all the Supreme Court case laws that you can find that go with that, put it on his desk and say, here, bam, go through this shit, make sure that I didn't break the law, and make sure you put all this shit on the judge's desk as well. I don't know how much of an impact that will make, but I think once you give them the information, they have to do their job, right? Or you don't get your representation. But I believe that we, as a people, truly need to begin to understand the procedures and how to fight for ourselves, just because we can't afford the attorneys. And so I've been seeing things that you're doing, some of the other channels are doing. What I would like to do is try to bring everybody together so that we all somebody has a place to go to where they can try to figure out how to help themselves in a situation. First of all, this is not legal advice because I'm not an attorney, but I want to be able to find a platform, find a place where people can go. For instance, Theresa knows more than I do regarding a lot of this, and that's why we're interviewing her today. So,
well, I've been thinking a lot about attorneys for the past few years, and there are a number of them that I know and I care for. So I'm not saying all attorneys
right.
are bad, right? But there's a real problem in subcontracting out the protection of your rights, because typically we don't know them, and you have to hire a stranger who is now, I think that the bar has been installed into this country and around the world because people don't want to spend the time learning how to protect themselves.
Right.
So there's really advanced areas of the law, like corporate law, that I don't know the average guy who has a multi-million-dollar business, is he going to be able to study that and have time to run his business? No. But I have found that the more you study and the more you learn about how to defend yourself, it really becomes, it's like an intoxicating endeavor. So, yeah, it's work, and yet at the same time, you find that you can speak from a place of authority, and you don't have to yell at them. I mean, like my temperament is to scream because I have a hot temper, being you know, part Italian, and so it's taken me years to discipline myself. But knowledge is power, right? And when I was in the car with Maldonado, I mean, I came off as calm, but inside there was like a fire raging, and I was definitely scared because I've already dealt with this guy once before, and it's kind of an esoteric body of knowledge that they do not want you to acquire, and they don't like it when you start to crack the nut. And yet, at the same time, because I thought a lot about, they could have arrested me when I went into the court last last year. And one of my theories is that they are like the guardians of that esoteric body of knowledge. And a lot of the times, and I've seen the videos, and I've seen some people in my community do it, they go in and they yell, and they can't keep control of themselves. They'll say things like, "You're violating my rights. I know the law." That's not really good enough. You have to be able to say things right off the top of your head. I've also seen, I think that the judges have been trained to ascertain whether or not someone else wrote the documents for you. If you go in there pro se, and they'll ask you a series of questions to see whether or not you have the whole case mapped out in your head, and then they'll exploit that because they've been able to figure out within a couple of minutes whether or not you know what you're talking about or you don't. The other thing is, how pliable are you to surrender? They're there to test you, and if you, at least for me, I mean, this is probably different for all people, but once you pass that test, they're like, okay, you know, good luck, and you're free to go. And I have found that you can cut a swath through their rules, and eventually they will yield. And certainly, I had no idea when I filed this that what was going to happen with these attorneys was going to wind up. I just, and I'm not sure if you want to tell people about that. That video that I uploaded last week.
Yeah, this is an outstanding video. You were able to show that these attorneys didn't even have the credentials to be, coming after you or practicing law, right? And
That's
because of what you submitted, you were able to expose that, and things happened after that because of that. You had a couple attorneys who don't actually work for the law firm anymore because of that, right?
just one.
One, okay.
Yeah.
So what was it, how did that go down?
Well, let's see, that case was open for a year and a half. And then I started reading the local rules. And it was kind of like it was hazy off in the distance. And I should explain to people that this is what I focus on. I wish I was doing more glass, but they kind of complement one another. I do this all day long. While I'm driving, I'm putting the pieces of the puzzle together. What did the attorney say here? What did the local rules say? What did the case law say? What did my teacher say during a Zoom? Because I do 1 to 2 Zooms a week. And a lot of the times I'm just listening, and I'll pick up sometimes nothing during the Zoom. And sometimes I'll pick up an important nugget that I then weave into my documents. So this is like a full-time mental job. And then I read the local rules, and I figured out that this particular attorney had failed to formally appear. And I sort of remembered at the very beginning of the case that he hadn't filed it. And I filed a motion to strike, and the judge denied it. And then I couldn't believe it. I went to the attorney status on the Northern District Court's website and saw that this attorney was not admitted to practice law in that court. And there it was, February 27, 2024. And he had to have filed it in July of 2022, before really he filed any document. And then I filed a motion for reconsideration on the motion to strike. I didn't do it. It's like procedurally improper the way that I filed the motion to strike. And if people go pro se, I don't like to call them mistakes. You're not going to make mistakes. You're learning. And so you're constantly tweaking, right? So in the process of learning, I didn't file a right document before. And let me say that when I first started bringing this up to my judge, he kept shooting me down, and he would hurl snide comments at me in the documents.
Wow.
So a number of times he said, because they said the plaintiff has been harmed by this attorney's failing to file his notice of appearance and his petition for bar membership. And he said the plaintiff's claims of prejudice are specious, and that means deceptive. So he said I was trying to deceive the court. And then he said the irony of the plaintiff accusing this attorney of not following the rules when she herself hasn't followed the rules has not been lost on this court. Like snotty like that, right? And when I read it back then, it was humiliating, okay? Because he's putting this in the docket. And that was just about the time that the veil started to be lifted off my eyes about who this judge was, who the district courts are. And it was right around April that I started taking the gloves off with the judge. So I've never been, have I called him names? I don't think so. But we would have, they're called joint case management conferences. And I think it was right around this time that I started to realize that I was now in control. First of all, it's my case. They had no right to do that, to attack people for walking on the beach. And I started to stand up for myself during the conferences. And the next one that we had, I would say, what is happening with this attorney? Oh, and let me say this too. The first time that I figured out that this attorney, Jonathan Redford, was practicing law outside jurisdiction, I filed the motion for reconsideration on March 21st. 2 days later, the judge granted his motion to dismiss. 2 days later. And I thought, okay, they're cheating. All his documents are void. We all know they're void. So the next conference we had, I said, why aren't you striking his appearances from the record? Why are we not? And then it came up again in the June conference. Then it came up again in the July 31st conference. And I wouldn't let it go. And eventually he had to start relenting. And he ordered Redford to file a declaration into the case explaining, like, what the F, what was going on. And then it was August 10th, so they they withdrew Redford from the case. He wound up losing his 20-year partnership in the firm. And let me say,
Wow.
if people want to go, I have to put together a video on this. And he put this in his declaration, which is the only reason I found out about this case, that there was he was a kid, I think he was like 17 or 18, Francisco Munoz. And he was riding through a campus in Sacramento. I forget what the name of the university was. And the two cops there attacked one of his friends on a bicycle. They were in a big group. And Munoz took out his phone and he started recording. And the cops came over and grabbed either one of his arms. You can see this on the video. And they started yanking him in opposite directions. And he pulled away. He got off his bike and he started running because they were hurting him. So I don't remember, Nguyen, I think, was one of the cops' names. I forget what the other one's name was. And as he was running away, they tased him twice. And he fell on the cement. And one of the cops placed his knee on the back of Munoz's neck and pressed him into the concrete. And then they dragged him up off the ground. And I'm going to explain why it is that I'm telling the story. And when I watched it, I started crying because he gets up off the ground and he's stumbling. And I think he was in jail for 5 days. He had brain bleed. And Jonathan Redford defended the cops. Okay, so this is who Redford is. And I had to deal with this scumbag in federal litigation. I kept asking for the body camera footage. I kept asking for all these records. And he would say, yeah, we're going to get this to you by this date. And that date would come and go, and I would get nothing. Then he would say, yeah, we're going to disclose these records by this date. That date would come and go. Then you had to schedule meet and confers. And he kept putting off the meet and confers, canceling them at the last minute. Then he was going to discuss. This would go on and on. And I can't tell people how irritating it was, because that's our beach. They never had the right to do that. The people had the right to these records. And the fact that, like I said in the video, the bill for his sins came due. And I would recommend that people watch The Devil's Advocate, which is one of my favorite movies of all time, because it's a biblical parable for attorneys. And anyway, so he lost his partnership in the firm. And then the firm, on the same day that they withdrew him from the case, they dropped in 2 attorneys. And the second attorney wound up making the identical mistake.
Oh, shit. Wow.
But hers was almost worse, because she said on her notice of appearance, and it's an ECF 160 in my case, she said, I am admitted or otherwise authorized to practice law in this court. And she had not filed her petition for bar membership either. And then I found that. Then I filed another, it was a judicial notice on Esther Teixeira. And I think at this point, my Judge Cousins is his name. He was like, holy shit. And what's really kind of gratifying is that he vouched for her twice. Once during conferences, I can't recall, might have been twice during conferences, or once during a conference and once during documents. And so I threw that back up to him. You vouched for her twice, and this isn't my job to be keeping control of your court. So I kept pounding at it, and then he ordered Esther to upload a declaration into the case, and then he ordered the entire firm to enter a declaration into the case.
Wow.
Like, you guys, what is going on? You're making me look bad. I can't cover for you anymore. So, and that's where we are. And then I'll give you the floor again if you want to say something. But okay, here's the other thing. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Um, Another attorney would not have done this because they're all in the same
Mm.
club.
They
And
don't want to fight other attorneys and stuff. They don't want to go after other attorneys. They
no,
want to coddle
and
each other.
that's right. They're all in the same club and we ain't in it. And they're beholden to the bar. But that's why I'm much more dangerous because I'm not tethered to any organization. So, yeah.
That's the wonderful thing about this community is we don't have to sign on to be a member of some kind of association or nothing like that. We can still unite as individuals and learn. Like, we can have our own club, the club of the pro se club of the people, right? Because we need to truly begin to, I don't want to say build a club, but build an arena where we the people can go in. And I mean, I know they have law libraries and you have the clerks in there. They're supposed to be able to help guide you in the right direction. They can't give legal advice, but they're supposed to be allowed to guide you in the right direction. Nobody's using the law libraries and the clerks, right? But that's an arena that we can go to try to help ourselves, but we get hardly any help there. It's probably why nobody goes. But yeah,
Right.
we found ourselves online. We found a community on YouTube, and a lot of us have learned our rights. I've learned a lot since I started. I was just a fucker with the camera when I started, right? There was a comment on there that somebody said, "Hey, San Joaquin, it's nice to see you go from a cop watcher to a journalist," right? I kind of, this happened by happenstance. It just, it just came about because I started to see patterns. I started asking cops if they knew the First Amendment. They didn't even fucking know it. So they swear an oath to the Constitution that they don't even know. How does that make sense? Because it doesn't make any sense. So finding out this pattern, I realized that this country is in a really bad position. We have become a dependent people. We're expecting cops to tell us what our rights are. We are dumb. We're expecting cops to defend us. They work for the Bar Association. And
That's right.
when are we going to get together, build an arena so that we could understand the people can help the people? And I think that's what I'm trying to do. I'm going to try to bring more pro se litigants, or I mean, would that be a proper term? A pro se litigant or how would I address somebody who does things pro se?
Um, I call myself that. I think the proper term is sui juris because I have been told that pro se means no speak.
Hmm.
And I think it's interesting that that is it's prosecutor. The first part of prosecutor is pro se. It's kind of what I'm doing in my own case. But I think it's sui juris. Yeah. And so yeah, it's not just that we rely on cops to know the law, but then once we get violated by them, we believe we can turn around and pay money to lawyers who are then going to protect our rights, when really it is our job. And it's like you're arming yourself with intellectual weaponry. Because I haven't posted this video, I still have to create it. I got to, I was able to be left alone with Maldonado and Higgins, right? And then on July 4th, I accidentally backed my car into a ditch on a road, and I can't get out. And the California Highway Patrol, they arrive on the scene like big swinging dicks, and we've got cars piled up on both sides of my, a car that's perpendicular to the road. And Officer Mercado, and I'm like totally freaked out. I'm embarrassed. I've been there for about 30 or 40 minutes. everybody's being incredibly patient. And Mercado walks up and I said, "Can you please just help me? Let the tow truck come in here and then we can do all this afterwards." He asks if I have any weapons in the car, asks for my driver's license, and then demands I get out of the car. And we have an interaction for about 8 or 9 minutes. Officer Danowitz from California Highway Patrol shows up. There's a park ranger there. There's a sheriff's deputy there. There's crowds of people. And I don't know what happened. And I even refused to take a field sobriety test. He said, "How many drinks have you had today?" I said, "I'm not answering any of your questions." They run my license, and he came back and he said, "I don't think you're under the influence. We're going to get the truck in here."
They don't want to mess with you. Once they know, same thing kind of happened to me here in town. I would walk up with the camera, and there's cops that right away try to violate my rights, get in my face, act stupid. I've been arrested a couple times in my town for recording cops being an asshole. I'm not gonna lie. A couple moments I'm not proud of, but I didn't break the law, and I won those cases. Now I come out, I go out there and I'm recording cops, and even cops that have cussed me out before. Me and the cops are like this to each other, face to face. Sometimes they see me now and they're like, "Hey, David, how you been?"
Yeah.
Things change
Yeah.
because they know that I'm gonna stand on liberty. There's many times cops have come up to me and say, "You gotta back up," and I'm like, "Are you gonna arrest me if I don't?"
Right.
85% of the time they say no, and I say, "Well, no, thank you then," and they back up. And to me, I always try to put it onto the cops. A lot of people say that you have to get arrested, don't back up, yada yada yada. To me, it's like this: I'll put it on. I'll put it in the hands of the cop. If I don't back up, are you gonna arrest me? Because if you don't back up, you're putting it in the hands of the cop anyways. You're gonna go take the ride, and shit like that. So it's
Yeah.
important that you protect yourself in any which way you can. I think that's important, and to also know your rights. Knowing your rights is an empowerment. And I can just begin to imagine the type of empowerment that we will get from people learning their rights, like from things that I can teach them. Simple. I mean, I'm not a professor, even though I spoke at a university, Stanislaus University. I was a professor for a day, which is cool. But I've been able to help people learn the First Amendment, at least some of these things that are important to their everyday lives. And now, folks like you, Miss Theresa, can help guide people in the right direction as well with some of the things it can do, because a lot of times when it comes to going to court, there's also things that we can do before we actually use an attorney or hire an attorney, right? If like, for instance, request records, file certain motions. Filing motions is an important part of the procedures, right? And these are some of the things that we don't understand. That's why it's important to learn some of these things, because we don't need an attorney for every single little fucking thing.
No.
Attorney be like, "Yeah, just pay me $500. Well, there's also a filing fee. We'll take care of that for you. Just
Right.
pay me $5,000."
Yeah.
What the?
Well, the guy that got tackled on the beach, he hired an attorney, and the attorney convinced him to plead guilty to trespassing. And to go down the wrong pipe.
Yeah, apologies.
Yeah. And he wound up paying a fine for getting tackled. But that's one thing. The other thing is people in California can use the First Amendment Coalition, and they have a legal hotline, and you can submit a question online, and they have attorneys there that will give you in-depth answers.
Really? Have you ever used them at all?
Oh yeah, I use them all the time. I think it's
When we're done,
maybe.
when we're done here, if you can send me that link.
Sure. Yeah. And they will help you as far as like a records request and whether or not your rights have been violated for First Amendment violations. So yeah, I use them all the time. There's also Rule of Law on Friday nights when you can call in to Randy Kelton and Brett Fountain and you can ask them questions. Eddie Craig has a class on Thursday nights. The first Thursday of every month is free. And so you can really start to become educated about how to protect yourself. And it's not, I mean, I don't really concern myself about the country because I found that most people don't really want freedom because that's a lot of responsibility. And it's the same reason that we have attorneys, because it's an excuse for our laziness. So you think that you can just pay an attorney and everything is going to go away. And shoot, I was just talking about something and then I forgot. What was I just talking about right before that?
I don't know.
It's gone.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's little
And
I don't there's little bells going off. I don't know if it's my house or yours, and that
no,
kind
it's
of
not
took
mine.
my
I don't have
focus.
one of those fire alarms that are no, that's not here. I
Af-
don't
af-
think.
After the computer turned off yesterday during the live stream, the alarms are going off on both the garage door and the front door, and we would turn one off, and then the other one would be dee dee dee, and so I'd go over there and reset it, and then this one would do this. We were dealing with that all night. It seems like it's happening again. I apologize.
Okay, no
Major
problem. I
distraction.
just remembered what I was going to say. Um, I really concern myself with anybody that needs help, that honestly needs help. Because I love, not only do I love helping people, but it's exciting to be able to communicate how much I've learned so that other people don't have to make the same mistakes that I did. Well, that they don't have to learn what I've already learned.
Trial and error.
Trial and error, get through the trial and error. And I found that it spreads because other people see what you're doing. And my sister was harassed by CPS a couple of weeks ago, and she videoed them and she handled them like a boss. And it's partially
Nice.
because she has been an integral part of helping me with this lawsuit, and she's seen a number of my videos. And yeah, you can impact other people, but other people have to want it. They can't. I've had people come to me, and a lot of times it's they want to complain, and I can tell usually within the first few minutes now of whether or not they want somebody to listen to their woes, or do they really want to tackle the problem and keep taking strides towards freedom. Yeah. And the other thing is they have so many rules. They have so many rules. It's your job to learn the rules so that you can catch them breaking their own rules,
Yeah.
which is exactly what I did. So it's not, and I think I heard you say this the other day in a live stream. What it is that I found in my own suit is people shouldn't be attached to the mistakes that I found these attorneys making. It's like a fuller scope. So other people are going to catch the attorneys or the cops in different violations than the ones that I have. But I cannot take any of the credit for this because I know that God was none too pleased with my city officials when they laid claim to a part of the coast. And that's the reason that I got called down there. I had no idea that this was going to, happen. But that's the reason for why their attorneys have been making one mistake after the other, because there's cause and effect to everything that we do. And I actually called the city manager a week in advance, and I tried to talk him out of closing the beach. And they thought I was just a blowhard at the time. And, the other thing is, I just don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't dig into my pants. Don't go through my purse. You don't know who I am. I don't like it. You had no right. And in that video, when I overlaid Boucher's voice on top of the intake room, when that chick, I still don't know her name because Sam Beaterwell, the attorney for the county, would not tell me who she was. When she's unbuttoning my coat and running her hands, I still can't watch it. That's how traumatizing it is. And to think that we had, a standing army roaming the country doing this thousands of times a day is really, it's incomprehensible. And so that's the reason that I've been fighting like a junkyard dog.
You mess with the wrong one.
Yeah,
That's
right.
Cops take advantage of people whenever they can, whenever they get a chance. And a petite woman like yourself, it's kind of messed up that they would do that to you. And you're not the only one. They've done it to a lot of women, a lot of people,
Right.
children. And but it's not, like I've said this 1,000 times. Bad cops create great activists, and
All right.
sometimes
Yeah,
they mess with the wrong people.
and I didn't even. I know. It doesn't compare to what some people have been through. I've seen the videos, uh, but it was awful for me. And I volunteered to go down there, and so I was willing to endure what happened that night. And I know that God didn't want anybody else there but me, and it was necessary. And I hope it's also kind of like an announcement to people around the country that I didn't get any video of what I saw when I drove along the beach that day. But you have a duty as a child of God and an American living in this country to stand. You have to stand against it. And if you see someone else going out there, don't, overcome your fear and go out there and help them. And it might not be with the beach. It might be with a park. It might be something else. But I'm never going to forget that those people let me go out there alone. And really to their shame. And the one boy said, "Have fun getting arrested, lady." And I
Cheering on the
turned,
cops.
pardon me?
Cheering on the cops.
Cheering on the cops. And I turned around and I said, "Have fun with your cowardly life, boy." And he didn't say another word. And then, once we got put into the police vehicle and we got driven up the bluff, we were like displayed in front of the onlookers as though we were like property or a prize of the Carmel Police Department. And I know that those people, well, I would assume that they were getting like this perverse glee out of the fact that I was in chains, and they were free to go home, but really they're slaves.
Mm-hmm.
So don't be a slave and be a free person. And I also want to like the update on the case. Okay, so judge, actually he's not a judge, he's a magistrate Cousins dismissed the case entirely on October 24th. A judgment against all defendants, despite the fact that Carmel and the 5 cops did not defend the suit. all their documents are void. And so it gives the appearance as though something is happening in the court. Okay. So I just filed 3 documents. It went in December 3rd. It was a motion to vacate all void orders and judgments, and that was 49 pages. An objection to interlocutory order number 270, where he only admonished Esther Teixeira. And I said, that's not enough. She needs to be sanctioned and disbarred. And the third was a judicial notice under Evidence Rule 201 for a deprivation of the plaintiff's rights and non-responses, because he has been ignoring a bunch of documents that I submitted, emails to the court that they never answered, because I have all the recordings of the hearings, and I don't know if I can upload those to YouTube, but I want to be able to do that. And there were a number of times where I kept saying, why haven't you stricken Jonathan Redford's appearances from the case? He has steadfastly ignored it. So a lot of the times it's what they say. It's also what they don't say, what they don't address. And you have to read through and carefully analyze what it is that they are carefully ignoring, because that's also like another arrow in your quiver. And then I also filed a notice of appeal on the same day. And they just responded yesterday, and I have plans. I have plans.
It's funny because, when you prepare yourself, you actually have this little confidence in you. And I seen that confidence right now in your smile, right? Your little chuckle. That's good. That's how we, the people, should be fighting these charges, with confidence, with knowledge, with an understanding of how the procedures and the law works, and it is applied. And
So
I gotta say, it was nice to see you express that with confidence, and I hope that things turned out. I have a question really quick. The
sure.
gentleman that was tackled on the beach, do you know what happened with his case?
I called him repeatedly afterwards, and I tried to inspire him to fight with me, and I couldn't do it. So, like I was saying earlier, he pled guilty to
Mm.
trespassing. He hired an attorney, and he paid a $75 fine.
For a lot of people, paying a little fine, it's a lot easier to just pay the fine, and just, it's the law, man. Well, whatever the law says, it's the law, right? But cops get the law wrong all the time. They get it wrong all the time. They they do things on the fly. They really don't understand law. And cops will be the ones that say, "Hey, we don't have to know all the laws. There's just too many of them in the book. Too many of them in the books." But then they'll turn around and say, "Ignorance of the law is no excuse." Right? It's a big old hypocrite. Police hypocrisy 101. So,
Well, I think that people saying it's just easier is actually a ruse, because that lesson is going to continue to follow you. It's just a theory, okay? And it's kind of like it's a more mystical idea I have. But when you are harmed by the government, it is a call to arms from your creator to stand against it. And when you do, that's a power that's going to affect all the aspects of your life. And I think that they are also, your opponents or your adversaries, or maybe they're your future friends. Maybe I haven't quite gotten to that place yet. That they want to see whether or not you are going to take the easy way. It's not really the easy way out.
true.
It's maybe in the moment it is, but it's going to turn out to be the harder way out eventually. So
In which way though? Because you make it worse for everybody else, and you make the cops believe they were right in arresting you, and now you have some kind of record.
Well, that is, I thought about that, but it might be on disagreements with your neighbors, or somebody else has harmed you. Maybe it's with your wife or your husband. Um, it's learning how to stand up for yourself is going to change who you are. And I I couldn't have lived with myself if I took a plea. I just I wasn't gonna do it.
Word.
So, and I didn't trust to hire any attorney to do it for me. So,
That's kind of like the way Cristo is. His mindset. He's all, they can bury
mhm,
me under the jail, but I'm not going to take a plea. They can persecute me, you know what I mean? But, and that's why I think I respect that guy so much, man. He goes through so much, and they've thrown everything at him: kitchen sink, fucking hammers, all the forks in the drawer. They throw it plates, dishes, trying to throw everything at him, and Crystal's like, psh, psh, it's
no.
insane.
Yeah, and I don't know if I wrote this to you or I wrote this to him yesterday. I grew up about 10 miles away from Edison, New Jersey. And so I also, I talk about him, that he goes in there and he's able to rattle off that case law off the top of his head and put those city council members in check. He's amazing. Yeah, so he's in Edison. I grew up in Lawrence Harbor, New Jersey. And yeah, he's a real badass. Yeah.
Yeah, he's. Um, I I would like to do more interviews with you in the future as well. Um, I would like definitely everybody to go subscribe to Theresa's channel, and I think that we are onto something extremely powerful. Sometimes we
Hmm.
don't know the impact our channels and our videos can make until we actually see things happen. We've talked about qualified immunity. Things are happening with qualified immunity. It's a discussion that's on the table. I think the court of public opinion matters, and I also believe that our ignorance and our behavior, as far as like being a dependent people, it's
Hmm.
put us in the position that we are all in.
Hmm.
And who do we blame? Do we blame ourselves? Do we blame the government? We have allowed them to treat us this way. We don't stand up for ourselves. The sad thing is, since I started my channel, I've been trying to reach the youth because I see how important it is to teach the youth their rights, their natural rights, before they get out there. Um, I say it all the time. Parents, don't send your kids to the theaters, to the Starbucks to go get you and themselves and everybody else coffees. Don't send your kids anywhere without them knowing their natural rights, because it is
Hmm.
an empowerment. It is a safety mechanism,
Hmm.
or what have you. And but now I think that we the people are taking it to the next level where we need to be, understanding the courts, and we have more folks going into city council meetings, recording, asking questions, demanding transparency and accountability. We have people going into government installations, doing public records requests. We got Tri-County Accountability out of Canada. He's going to more than likely be running for office soon. He's done some interviews out there, and he's talked to some folks, and they're like, you should run. You should run. You know what you're talking about. You should run. I haven't really seen that before. I just I spoke to Richard Brescher yesterday on the phone, which is the council member for.
Right.
I'm going to be interviewing him tomorrow at 8 in the morning.
Oh, great.
Yeah, we'll probably do it live as well. Um, but Richard Brescher
Uh,
has a lot to tell. I'm going to actually endorse him for mayor, unless Crystal runs again. Then I'm going to have to endorse Crystal. Sorry, Richard. But we need to
well,
see. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Um, I would recommend that people not blame anyone else, that they take 100% responsibility for the choices that they make and the thoughts that they have running through their heads. Okay. I certainly get angry, right? But my anger kind of fuels me. But I am the one that is responsible, right? And what I found is that when you do that, your family members are gonna start to see what it is that you're doing. Because I watched my niece in a Zoom call with a judge, and she just blew me away. She blew me away. And so myself and my sister Carol and my niece Mercury, it starts to have a life of its own, and then it starts to grow, and it's really fun. It's really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree. Learning this stuff is kind of fun. Talking to you is fun. Seeing the people come together. Recording cops is fun. It's a little scary sometimes. There's a channel that's on here right now. Let me find him so I can put him up here. I want to actually read one of his comments. Here he is right here. Modern Retro Radio. All right, Modern Retro Radio. The other day I was speaking to him on the phone, and I was like, "Yeah, bro. When I first started, man, I was a little bitch. I was scared. I was a coward. Going up to these cops, my heart was pounding. I was scared as fuck."
Right.
And he told me, "No, bro, you are brave. When you're scared, you don't. Some people, when they're scared, they don't do nothing. When you're able to have the fear and still work through it and walk up to the cops with that fear,
Right.
that's called
Yep.
bravery." And I
Yep.
was like, "Oh, bro, thank you." I felt like that South Park meme with the exploder. Oh, thanks, bro. I was like, man, that feels so great. Like I'm a brave dude.
Yeah.
I'm over here thinking
Well,
I was a chicken shit, and he's like, "Nah, bro, you're brave." I was like, "Thank you, bro." So you're extremely brave as well. I gotta say.
okay, thank you. I was hoping the last time I went into the court that, I mean, I certainly maintained my composure on the outside, right? But I was sitting there and my heart was going like bam, bam, bam. And inside, I thought, well, you weren't supposed to be doing this. You were going to maintain control over your body, and I couldn't do it. And certainly, when I went out to talk to the cops on the beach, I was really scared. I didn't want to go to jail. I didn't want to be humiliated in front of that crowd of people, but I did it anyway. So, yeah, people have to expect you are going to be in fear, but you need to do it anyway. If you're being called, if you have a gut instinct, you have to stand up and risk getting arrested or whatever it is, or getting charges, because like I was saying earlier, that is a call from your creator, and you have to answer. You have a duty to answer it. Really, that's the reason that I went out that day on the beach, was because God wanted me to. And I'm not a performer. Typically, that's not my thing. I don't like being the center of attention. And when I spoke, it was really, I was not in control of my own functions. Like something else took me over and spoke for me. I couldn't help it. It just really came like screaming out of me. And so you have to answer that call.
Yeah, you're extremely brave, and you're a wise woman.
Thanks. I can't really take any credit though. It just, it's like saying that you're proud of a dog because he barks. Like,
Well, when
it's
you have
kind
a
of,
thousand dogs and none of them want to bark, and you're the only one that barks, then yeah, there's something there. You know what I mean? All these quiet dogs, they're not barking at the bad guy.
yeah, it's my nature. And I think that by July 3rd, I was sick to the back teeth of seeing what the government was doing to us, and how compliant 85 or 90% of the population in California were. And I just like popped a screw. And if people want to watch the video that I just uploaded, it is The Tainted Legacy of Carmel by the Sea, where my friends went, and it was the mayor's last day. It was one of the city council members' last day, Bobby Richards, and Chip Rarick, who was the one that actually issued the orders to close the beach. He was present, and my friends read off a script, and they held pictures up for the gallery, and I got close-ups of their expressions on their faces, and they thought it was going to be so easy, and they could just continue on with that unbelievable tyranny, because they posted in our agendas that bringing a cooler, umbrella, or chair onto the beach or sunbathing would be punished. That's the word they used in their agenda, with 6 months in jail. We're a coastal town. What world are you living in that you think it's appropriate that you can threaten us, the authors and source of government, that we're going to be punished with 6 months in jail for sunbathing? Are you fucking out of your minds? And the thing was, they did it again on Labor Day. So because nobody stood up to them except me, and I hadn't really gotten my groove on by then, they went ahead and did it again 2 months later. And our chief, Paul Tomasi, and the city manager, they did a vlog. And this is under a video I have called How an Unelected Politician Stole a Beach from God's Children.
Wow.
And people can listen to the vlog that they did, where they're telling us where to walk. They say, well, you can't bring umbrellas or coolers down there, or that sort of thing. But
I remember that.
Yeah, but we are really looking forward to allowing the people to get out and be in the sunshine, which is what we wanted all along. You are going to tell us that we can get out and get sunshine? Okay, so by the time 2 months came by, this time I had a little bit more chops, and I wrote a 1-page green as fuck notice of violation that I had delivered to the chief of police, the city manager, the mayor, the DA, and the health director in my county. And they had closed off the beach. It was the exact same scene. But this time I arrived with my posse, and we went down to the edge of the water, and all the people again were cowering behind the police tape. And we got on the bullhorns. One of my friends cut the police tape down, and there was one police vehicle that was, prowling the water's edge. It was the same scene, and he beelined it right for us. And I thought I was going to get arrested again, and my niece started knocking, and he tooted his horn. He went boop, boop, and he took off the sand as soon as we got there, and we never saw him again. And we called to the people, and they started streaming down through the hole that we had cut in the police tape. And after we were there about half an hour, the beach was packed with people. And so the entire thing was a house of cards. All we had to do was blow on it, and it came tumbling down. So, all it ever, look at what Christo's doing. He's just one guy in Edison, and he's tearing that place up. So don't convince yourself that you don't have the power to change things in your community. You can't fight City Hall, because you can. Oh, hey, Carol, my sister's on.
Yeah, she's been here, I think, pretty much the whole interview.
Oh, shoot. Hey, Carol.
She's been saying hi to everyone. What's up, Carol? I'm trying not to interrupt when you speak, so just so you guys know, I'm reading some of the comments, and I'm not trying to interrupt Theresa at all. So I see you guys. Thank you all for being here. Carol, thank you for being here, supporting us and supporting your sister. Really cool.
Yeah. And who would have thought when I went out there that day that we would be able to come just 2 months later and beat the bullies back?
That's what it takes.
Yeah. And you can see, on the video that I just uploaded, their expressions, what they tell the people about what they did back then. And I know you guys were hoping, or you were expecting, that this was just all going to be relegated to the dustbin of history and we were going to let bygones be bygones. No, we're not, because you're going to have to apologize, you guys. Okay? You're going to do it now or you're going to do it later. And let this be a shot across the bow to all politicians in office. It may take a long period of time for the bill to come due, but it will be paid.
Word. I went to a last time I did a video on the video you sent me. Um, so I had folks in there calling you the female Lane Myers. Have you heard of Lane Myers yet?
I saw that video. I saw that video, and I saw people posting about that. But no, I have not watched his
The
channel.
dude is a beast in court.
I think my sister was watching him, but I
Yeah.
haven't had a chance yet.
Hopefully, all of us will become Lane Myers and Theresa Buccola in the future, or at least have some kind of fight in us, right? Yeah, I want to try to bring everybody together. Maybe, hopefully, I'll do like a live panel in the future. Maybe we'll get Lane Myers on here. We'll get Theresa. We'll get Cameron on here. More folks who are trying to fight for themselves because shit, man. Lawyers are hella expensive, and even when you pay top dollar, they still don't want to defend you correctly. So,
That's right. That's right. And David, I want to give you props too, because I've been watching your channel for years, and you've taught me a lot, and you are also incredibly brave. And so I I do feel my heart pounding out of my chest right now.
thank you so much.
I'm being interviewed by you. It's really pretty astonishing. So thank you so much for inviting me on here. Yeah.
Well, I feel the same way about you. I'm astonished with you as well. Like you've gone through a lot. A lot of we're all fighters, man. We walk alongside each other. I'm nobody special, just a man trying to do the right thing. And I want to connect with people who want to do the right thing, not just for themselves but for everybody else. We're supposed to live in a free country. We're supposed to coexist and be happy and free. And I mean, we're not finding any of that right now. We're finding a lot
Yeah.
of tyranny, a lot of bullying. All the patriots and all the people should rally around you, because when everybody was caving in and just giving up and obeying, you stood up for everyone in this
Hmm.
country, and you stood up for what was right. In government, they're habitual line steppers, so they're going to continue to try to chip away at our rights at every chance they get.
Hmm.
And it does take the people to stand up and question authority and to put them in check. And I gotta say, it's an honor to talk to you as well. I want to continue this conversation. I want to continue the topic and the talks of pro se litigation, of fighting. There was a question from I Hate Bullies earlier, and the question was, which is harder, pro se criminal or pro se civil?
They're both very challenging because, like I said, before I got rid of the criminal charges, and I forgot to mention this at the time, although I dropped this cause of action later, I was suing Monterey County for malicious prosecution. And the lawsuit at that time was 52 million. So I've scaled it back. But they had every reason to continue to prosecute me because they were, you know, in danger. Maybe they didn't think it was that much of a threat, but they were in danger of losing a lot of money. So I had tried a whole series of documents. I mean, I spent 3 full years working on how to get rid of those criminal charges and those incidents of human trafficking. And everything I was doing was failing. I went into court twice. I was told there were certain words I was going to utter, and the whole, they were going to get down on their hands and knees, and the judges were going to worship me, and I was going to walk out a free woman, and that's not at all what happened. So it took a lot of dedication and help to get rid of those criminal charges, right? And I know it really chapped their ass that my judge, the attorneys, and the cops that recommended those charges to be applied, that I got rid of those criminal charges, and I did it with an attorney. It must have really, my sister likes to say, chapped their khakis. Must have really chapped their khakis. And so now I'm in a similar fight, and I'm at 2.5 years now. The other one took me 3 years, 2.5 years. And so I would say they're equally as challenging. Yeah.
Hopefully we stumble upon a day in the future where instead of cops saying things to us like, what are you, some kind of YouTube lawyer? And they laugh at us, right? And they change that to, damn, like, you must be some kind of YouTube lawyer because you know your shit. You know what I mean? Like, on YouTube, we are learning a lot of shit. You can build a house on YouTube. You can build a patio and build a pool from what you learn
Yeah.
on YouTube. I mean, there's a lot we can learn on YouTube. So that kind of mentality from the cops definitely has to change in the future, because we're tired of being taken advantage of. We're tired of having our rights, stripped away at every angle, at every chance they get. So
I would say that um, I don't so much, I partially do, I partially don't. I don't hate the cops, okay? I believe that most of them become cops. I know there's some that do it because they're going to get the power and all that stuff, right? But I think most become cops because they want to help people. They want to be heroes. Like, for example, and this is just hearsay, I don't know if this is true, that Maldonado, the one that pulled me over, he was called to a scene where there was a guy in a house with a knife, and he went in there alone to save the woman. Okay? That's brave. If he indeed did that, that's why we do need the cops, because I don't want to go into a house if my neighbor is getting, I mean, I would if the cops weren't there, but they're there. And so what winds up happening is they get trained in this certain mentality. But basically, they get brainwashed, and then most of the times, and we've seen the videos, they're watching one of their friends beat somebody up, and what was it, Tyree Nichols, right? That those 5 cops it's like this frenzy that they get swept up in, and they don't have the mechanism to be able to pull away. So I don't at all hate cops. They're kind of like a double-edged sword, but they've been tricked, and they've been kept in ignorance of what it means to be free. And certainly, I do hold it against Boucher and Johnson that they must have had a bell going off inside their heads that what they were doing was wrong, in stalking Jay down the length of the beach and tackling him, but they couldn't say no. But here's the other thing. Okay, well, you guys, I faced a crowd that didn't want to join me, and I did it anyway. And I'm only a woman. You don't want to be outdone by a woman.
what's crazy is your actions that day may not have gained you the support at the time when it was happening, But because of what you've done, because of your fight, now the people are behind you, and my
Oh, right.
one of the things that I've done since I started my channel, I've gone out to record. I still go out whenever I get a chance. But I think it's important to try to highlight channels, help empower their channels, send them some support. I've used my numbers to try to help build a community of people who know their rights, but I want to take it farther. I want to take it further. I want to make sure that we know how to go into the city council meetings and not be trampled on or taken advantage of. Thank you, Christo, and the dreaded rabble rouser, and all you guys who go out there and speak at the city council meetings, and also for those who are teaching us how to get records requests. Massive shout out to I Am Free Inland Auditing out in the state of Washington. He sat with me we talked on the phone for a long time, him guiding me through the computer on how to look to get records and different things and stuff like that. This is the people coming together and helping each other and teaching each other. Look, guys, like I said, I was just a fucker with the camera, and I hate saying it like that, but it's true. I came off as being angry and stuff like that, but I told myself,
Me
man,
too. Yeah,
I want to make this shit educational, man. Like, when you don't know things, you get extremely frustrated, right? When you don't know shit, you get frustrated. But seeing, like I said, when you spoke a little bit ago and you were smiling, it's because you had that confidence. Frustration seems to have left the building, and I'm sure you still get a little bit frustrated or whatnot, but it can become actually fun to get challenged or challenge them in court, and
definitely.
people are
Yeah.
also willing to pay thousands of dollars, like somebody else said, for a simple fine. You know,
Hmm.
hire a lawyer for a simple fine. When in reality, what if they fight it and they present Supreme Court case laws that could actually help them, and even if they get convicted, take it to the appellate courts. And challenge it there. The appellate courts are supposed to be more lenient and more leaning towards the Constitution and stuff like that. So, I mean,
Well, I'm sorry.
go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Well, what I found is that the more you study, your intuition becomes heightened. And they will say things to you, they'll put things in documents, and something will go off in your head that they're lying, they're wrong. And you're not going to know how you know that, but you will know. Okay. So, for example, when I was in the court hearing on October 2nd, I had sent something to the attorneys, I think it was a couple months before, and I kept pressing the judge on it, and he wouldn't answer my question. I think I asked him 9 times during the hearing, and I saw, even in the moment, what he was trying to do in real time. So not only are you going to have your intuition and your documents, but when you go into court to face them, okay? And I said, do you honor private contracts in litigation? And he wouldn't answer. And I kept asking him over and over again. And he tried to distract me. And I said, you're not going to derail me off this point. I need an answer to my question right now. Do you honor private contracts in litigation? And it's going to be thrilling for people to learn how to stand up to these judges and how to stand up to the cops. And yeah, it was the same thing for me when I went to the police department. I hadn't quite developed the skill yet of remaining calm. And I don't really like the way that I spoke to him.
Hmm.
It was condescending and rude. And I kept asking God, it'd really be great if I got another opportunity to face one of these guys. And then God gave it to me again when Maldonado pulled me over.
They had to release you. He had to
That they
release you.
had to release me. And, I threw a little shade after he tucked tail and run, like you said. I threw a little
I
shade.
think it was
Up,
appropriate. I loved it.
yeah, yeah. But up until that point, just invoking my rights, never raising my voice. I wasn't condescending, and that God gave me the opportunity to do it again. And so that's what's going to happen if people, they really start to study. It's going to be a real thrill.
Yep. Okay. Well, I think I want to continue this pretty soon in the future. Real quick, do you have any kind of, I don't want to say advice because I don't want to make it like a legal advice, maybe some tips for someone who's been recently arrested and they believe their rights were violated? What would you do in that position now?
Um, Make sure that you read the particular penal codes that they are charging you with. Okay. Um, Analyze, scrutinize them. And I can almost guarantee that you are going to find at least one Achilles heel in that penal code that you can exploit. Read the policy manual of the sheriff's department or the police department that arrested you. If you, let me see, what else would there be? Because, like I said, I've scrutinized Penal Code 409.5. I figured out that I was not charged. I didn't have a tear gas weapon. I had mace. That was Penal Code 22900. Let me also say there's an important one about 148A1 in this state. Okay. It says in that penal code, peace officer. Okay. It does not say police officer. Now, I've put all the pieces of the puzzle together. Okay. If you go to Penal Code 830.1, it delineates what a peace officer is, right? It's a sheriff's deputy. They had these weird specific, like you're part of the harbor in Orange County or something. If you've been appointed by the chief of police as a police officer, okay, and your jurisdiction extends throughout the state. If you go to government code, I'm sorry, this is a lot, but I'm going to go to a particular point. Government Code 1363 says that if an official has jurisdiction throughout the state, his oath to office must be filed with the Secretary of State. Okay, so I've contacted the Secretary of State. I said, can you send me the oaths to office for sheriff's deputies and police officers? And she wrote back and said, we don't keep the oaths here. Contact the deputies. Okay, well then, are they peace officers or are they not? If the oaths are not filed in the proper place, and it says 148A1 peace officers, then they're not peace officers, right? So that's one of the first things that I would tell people to do. Start reading the penal codes. Call into Rule of Law on Friday nights. It's free. Start getting involved with Zoom calls. There's all sorts of people out there. Be willing to sort of cycle through teachers, because the more advanced you become in your studies, the more advanced teachers that you're going to pull into your sphere, and start reading. I think, let me see, are there any more tips? No, I think that covers it. That would be a good start. Oh, and get really good with records requests.
Word.
That one's critical. Oh, and before we sign off, I wanted to tell people about this case. Emails that they send on government and private servers, if they have to do with the people's business, and texts on their cell phones are considered public record. Okay, and that is from a 2017 California Supreme Court ruling of City of San Jose versus Superior Court. That was a unanimous ruling. So all the judges during that case all ruled that those ones, the categories that I just covered, are public records. And if anybody wants to contact me, I have taken out, I think it's like 10 or 12 citations from that case that clearly delineate that they have to approach the police officer and ask for the particular video or the text on their cell phone. And I think it says they have the reasonable expectation that the police will disclose that to their superior officer. Okay, so if it has to do with the people's business and it's even on their private cell phones, you have the right to obtain those. Okay, I asked for those. I started asking for those regarding the beach and anything that to do with my arrests in August of 2021 to the police department. I sent them this 10 citations from that case. They still refused to disclose them. I submitted them in federal litigation. Judge Cousins denied me. I included the citations from City of San Jose versus Superior Court. He said that they were unduly burdensome and not proportional to the needs of the case. He denied me the dash cam footage of when Maldonado drove me to the jail. And yet one of the reasons he dismissed my case was because I would not comply with discovery. Some of the discovery that he ordered me to disclose was what doctor I had seen in the past 4 years, including dentists who had employed me within the past 4 years. Okay, so dash cam footage is not disclosable, but I had to tell you what dentist I saw. Okay, but all that discovery was void anyway because it was all submitted by Redford. Okay, so if anybody wants to contact me, I can send you the case. Oh, and I should also say this, okay. In discovery, I did get the emails that City Hall was sending back and forth about me. When I started submitting records request after records request after, they would say, no, we're not going to disclose those. And I would say, well, actually, that is false because this case actually compels you to disclose those records. So they all started bitching about me behind the scenes. Like I was the topic of conversation for months. And they said, is there any way that we can snap her into line? She's being vaguely threatening and I don't appreciate it. Okay, then if people don't know it, the chief of police got sent down to the aquarium for 2 years. And his replacement started making house calls to my studio. And I opened up the door and he was like, hey, I just wanted to let you know that, Officer Johnson was not searching your phone. He was just, do you think I could come inside and do some Christmas shopping for my wife? Okay, so they're throwing me to the ground at the police department. And now I'm getting house calls from the chief to see if we can go out for a coffee to discuss policing and building bridges. I mean, it was, I couldn't believe it when I opened the door. I thought, wow, have things changed?
Yeah. There's, even Richard Brescher on the phone yesterday when I spoke to him, he mentioned that he actually had to look up laws that Crystal taught him. Same thing with me.
Wow.
And that's powerful because we the people, government, they're not educating government, making sure that government knows the Constitution and respects it, and because the Constitution wasn't written to give us our rights. It was written to limit the scope of authority that government has over we the people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no wonder they scoff at it every chance they get. No wonder they call us names like sovereign citizen. Even though they're the ones that swore an oath to protect and defend it, they call us names because we're putting it before them. We're saying, hey, hold on, you're limited to your scope of authority. It says right here, look. Like, oh, we're not gonna look at that. you know.
Well,
And
I think a lot of the times they don't like being outdone,
right.
and that's an incredibly powerful tool in your arsenal. That and that's what was happening with me at City Hall all the time. They were telling me one thing, and I was exposing that they were wrong. And I was finding the case law and the codes to back me up. And I think that's why they were getting their panties in a wad, because and especially a woman, right? And I think I wrote in one of my emails, stop allowing a woman to tell you men how to do your job.
Yeah, I don't let my wife tell me. I don't let her tell me to throw the trash. I'll throw it if I see it, but if she's telling me to do it, I ain't gonna do it. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
And if you have the facts to back you up, another thing that City Hall told me was that they were not going to disclose their legal invoices for their city attorney. And then I found the case law to show them that they were wrong. I think it was called County of Los Angeles versus Board of Supervisors, where I included the citations from that case that said that they were compelled to disclose their legal info, and then they would stop responding to me altogether. Um, and yeah, that is one of our jobs, is to educate them on what the rule of law is. So yeah, be a soldier for the rule of law and help them to understand what it means to protect our, because that's their main function, is to protect our rights. That is their primary function. It's not street addresses on the houses. It's not what they're going to do with the mailboxes. Like, those are like way down on the list. And when you have people like Christo, I mean, I actually I love the fact that they're trying to ban the American flag, because that's that's what happens when they start to get pushed. They start to make lots and lots of mistakes, and they start flailing, and
Hmm.
what's happening. I think it's encouraging, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, you're right. Like someone called me not too long ago, and she was telling me that I won't drop her name, but she was saying that this guy and that guy did this and that to her, but she wasn't going to combat it in a way where it was like calling them out. She was going to, do it in a way where it looks like there's unity. And
Hmm.
I believe that this community needs more unity. There's a lot of people infighting and stuff like that, and it distracts us from learning. It distracts us from moving forward. I personally want to bring forth the topic of what we can do to help each other, where we can go, who we can contact. As a matter of fact, there are people on here wanting to know how they can contact you. Do you want to give us your email so that we can drop it and people can start reaching out to you?
Sure.
What
Yeah.
what is
It.
your email?
Pardon me.
What is your email?
It's my name. So and I'll spell it for people. It's Theresa, B as in boy, UCCOLA @gmail.com.
I'm gonna type it in the chat and I'll post it up here. Usually I tell moderators mount up and get the important information and put it on there so I can put it in the chat, put it on screen, and I'll highlight my own comment. I think that might be the first time I've ever highlighted my own comment. How about that?
All
Um,
right.
so there's Theresa Buccola's Gmail. If you guys want to reach out to her, I know Cameron asked me for your email and I sent it to him. And yeah, I think look, Cameron's doing some things as well. He's doing some great work and bringing up
Hmm.
important topics. There are some people that have said the guy is right on some things, but he's also wrong on some other things. Okay, I get that. Same
Hmm.
thing with me. I know I'm wrong on a lot of shit sometimes. I mean,
Hmm.
I would like to lie to you guys and say I'm always right, but that ain't the case. But I think if we continue these topics, these talks, these interviews, I believe we'll start to eliminate, what is wrong, and bring forth what can help us. And
Uh-huh. Yeah, and you're also helping the cops.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There was a video recently that I did, and I've spoken about this several times. I was doing a cop watch. There was two cops. They were both kind of young. I didn't say anything. I was just kind of letting them do their shit, their job, and I like to approach cops differently now than I used to. I'll come in
Right.
there and I'll, be like, hey, how you doing today, man? You doing all right? Mind if I get your name, badge number? Quick question, man, if you don't mind me asking. Try to draw them in, be nice, and then pepper them with tough questions like, the First Amendment? So the first cop I asked was young, and he said, oh, man, I thought you were going to ask me a good question. I was like, bro, there's no better question than that, You swore an oath. It's not an opinion. It's part of your job. You can state it. And he just kind of walked away. Well, the other cop walked back, and I was like, hey, bro, you mind if I ask you a question? And he was like, what, the First Amendment? And I was like, yeah. And he said, speech, press, religion, assembly, and petition. Fast. And I was like, hell yeah, bro. I shook his hand. And I was like, are you an avid watcher of the channel? And he said, are you with San Joaquin? And I said, I am him. And he said, yeah. He said, I watch you guys. So
Wow.
I was walking
Nice.
away that day, and I put the camera on me as I was walking away. And I said, look, guys, this is a powerful moment for me. That video didn't go viral, but it was powerful.
Mm-hmm.
I taught that cop the First Amendment of the Constitution. The other kid wasn't watching my channel, so he didn't know it. The guy who watches my channel knew it. The government's not paying me. What I did for that cop that knew the First Amendment, I did the people a favor, and I did the cop a favor,
Right.
and I did the
Yep.
government a favor. Hey, anybody in government, y'all watching, you want to send me some money? Hey, I'm open. You know what I mean? Because y'all ain't paying me for this shit. But we're out
Right.
here doing it, and we're doing it for the people. And, we're doing it for the people. And I don't know what, collateral damage, or for lack of a better term, we're helping the cops as well.
That's right. Yeah, that's amazing, because I don't, I know there's some psychos, right? But maybe it's naive of me to believe that, in the good of man, and then when they're out there harming people, it has to weigh on their conscience, because they're also children of God, right? And I think a lot of the times they get misled, and they don't that's why Maldonado's, I said, well, what crime have I committed? And his default is, you're a sovereign citizen. And it's because he doesn't know I didn't commit a crime. He doesn't know he got put on the spot. And I would like to think, just like I do, that when I don't know something, I'll rerun it in my head. I would assume, like what happened with the cop that you interacted with, right? He probably didn't know what the First Amendment protected. And so you educated him, and now you've helped all the other people that he's going to, or many of them, hopefully many of them, that he's going to come into contact with. And that's our roles. And I'm really thrilled about the internet, because I think that whatever it was 10 or 15 years ago, we didn't have channels like yours and Lackluster. I would never know who Jersey Watcher is, or Brian from Here's the Deal, that we are helping people to free themselves from the maw of government.
Right. You know who Rogue Nation is? You heard of the channel Rogue Nation?
No.
You might want to check him out too. He does a lot of stuff on his own. Just like Cameron, people say that Rogue Nation does very well, but they also say he makes mistakes and does things wrong. I get it. None of us are perfect. None of us are going to get this right. Like you said, don't look at them as mistakes. Look at them as learning experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to take all of us, to understand. Just like we formed a community, a First Amendment community, right? And more of us actually know. There's people that watch my videos from Canada who know more about the First Amendment than the cops here do. You know what I'm saying? And people in the UK know what the First Amendment is. Our cops don't even know it. I mean, just think about how powerful the internet is.
Yep.
And we found a community, an unofficial not a legal term, but a YouTube community where we can all gather and we can understand and learn from each other and move forward. And I think it's a beautiful thing. I think we have already created some changes. There's people that are doubtful and they're just say things like, "I'm just here to document the downfall of America." I get that, but I don't have a defeatist mentality. In my mind, I'm a winner, even though I've lost many, many challenges along the way. Because I'm gonna keep standing up and I'm gonna keep fighting. And right now, my approach, my fight, is to bring people together and have an understanding of what their natural rights are, what the laws are. I also am not anti-cop. I've been on the fence. Am I a voluntarist? Am I a statist? What am I? I've been on the fence, and I've been trying to look at this and trying to find where I fit in, where I stand. And just like you, I don't think that all cops are bad, even though we get the comments that say all cops are bad because they have to, follow these laws and enforce these bad laws. I get it and I understand it. I do believe that we need cops for things like murder, rape, robbery, bank robberies, and shit like that, where they're real victims, And I don't want to do that job. I don't mind paying for a cop to do that job, but shit.
Right.
Just because we have to pay for a cop to go get a killer, that means we have to pay for a cop to do road piracy and violate people's rights. Like, I don't understand how we can continue this system. Like, to me it's an unsustainable system for the people, but it's sustainable for government, because the more people you arrest, the more, it doesn't matter if they arrest you unlawfully or not. As long as you're filling up that courthouse, the tax dollars demand it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right.
I think that we're onto something. I think that we can get somewhere. I'm not a defeatist. I do believe that it does take people like you, Cameron, and many other folks who are willing to stand up and put yourself on the line for the people. I mean, just look at what you did. You challenged, their ordinances that the cities are trying to put out and stuff like that, and you challenged it. You took the arrest, and man, I seen what they did to you outside the courthouse too. That was disgusting. And
outside the courthouse or the police department?
The police department, excuse me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and really, do we have to treat people this way? Because, you don't agree with them holding you accountable or what? Like, yeah.
Well, like I said earlier, he didn't have any right to do that, but I embarrassed him. And he didn't like being embarrassed in front of people, maybe even women. And so that was a way for him to regain control of the situation. And I wanted to ask, David, you were saying that you think of yourself as a winner, and I would like to find out, because I think that this is like the linchpin of why we've become who we are in Susan Bassi. What are the thoughts that run through your head on a moment-to-moment basis regarding how you interact with the government?
Me personally, I feel like we the people have allowed government to become this giant monster. Okay? And then I've discovered patterns. I've seen patterns by asking cops. They know the First Amendment. They don't know it. So my approach was like bad government is when I started. But now it's more along the lines of we allowed this to happen. We allowed them to become tyrannical, to behave this way, to be... it's under their policy to be professional at all times, right? But they don't follow their own policies, right? It takes we the people to step up because, like I said earlier, government is a habitual line stepper. Back in the day, you used to be able to see on TV where you had like a mobster was in the court or someone was dealing inside the courts. You had journalists all inside the courthouse waiting for that person to come out so they can ask them questions. They were all up and down the courthouse, but not in the courtroom. Maybe some journalists from the courtroom, but now judges have, because people have been going in asking questions, going into these government installations asking questions, and now the judges put orders to push people out. When I think
Right.
of government, I think of Rodney King. Rodney King's situation taught us that we can record the police. Okay?
Hmm.
And then
Hmm.
we fast forward a little bit to checkpoints. We started seeing white guys getting mad because they're getting pulled over. They stumble into Mexico. What is this, China? And that was a powerful moment. Cops are grabbing cameras off the dashboards, and that shit woke a lot of people up. Say, whoa, wait a
Hmm.
fucking minute. This is America.
Hmm.
We're supposed to be free. And so now
Hmm.
we know that we can record cops, and they're not supposed to take our cameras. Okay, we understood that with these things. And then we had the cop block people, the movement, where you're out doing cop blocking. It turned to cop watch, gained a little bit more.
Wait a minute. What do you mean cop blocking?
Just people used to
Say
call
it
it
again.
cop blocking. People used to go out and record cops and call it cop block.
Okay.
And they kind of switched it up to cop watch, right? Watching police out in the streets. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there was a gentleman. His name is Carlos Miller from PINAC. I don't know if you've heard that.
Uh-huh.
Photography is not a crime, PINAC. And they were kind of like an organization. And Carlos Miller coined the term First Amendment auditing. And people started to gravitate. He kind of stopped. Carlos Miller stopped doing what he was doing, stopped recording cops or whatever. And then you had Jeff Gray, Honor Your Oath.
I'm familiar with him. Hmm.
Jeff Gray came out and started saying, I'm conducting a First Amendment audit. And that term right there, it just made everybody start gravitating to this movement, including myself.
Hmm.
And now I see that holding government accountable is we're still in its infancy stage, right? Because we're
Hmm.
learning these things little by little. Rodney King, checkpoints, cop block, cop watch, First Amendment auditing, and now we have people like Crystal going into city council meetings, dreaded rabble rouser, Lawrence Accountability. We have channels like I Am Free Inland Auditing and many other channels. And I apologize, guys, if I miss your channels. These are some of the channels that stand out in my head. I Am Free Inland Auditing in Seattle, going out there and doing records requests. We're evolving as a people. We are
Hmm.
now getting into the state of mind where we should have been a long time ago, where we never should have fallen out of. We became a
Right.
dependent people. We expect government to operate correctly, but it isn't. These government installations have good intentions, but all roads to hell are paved with good intentions, right?
Yeah.
So when I think of government, I think of, hey, we're not done yet. We're still in its infancy stages of where we as a people need to be. And it's going to take more of us to get arrested, probably more than likely. It's going to take more of us to challenge. We can't afford lawyers, so now it's going to take more of us to learn how to do these things pro se. And so I thank you for all your work.
Oh, we were definitely sleeping at the wheel
Mm-hmm.
for decades. And I want to give a shout out to Jeff Gray. If people don't know his channel, one of the things that I really like the way that he comports himself when he's arrested.
Oh,
He
yeah.
complies, he's calm, he never raises his voice, and that is really going to serve you well later in a lawsuit. And then they'd have no reason, and it also just makes, cooler heads prevail, right? And I have been astounded at how they have been incrementally taking away our rights. Because I went back, I thought that they had to have a copy of the original warrant in their possession when they arrested you, right? And I found, I believe it is Penal Code 848 in California, that says that, I can't exactly remember what the verbiage is, but they don't even have to have seen it. They could have been told about a warrant, and this was passed in the 1950s. So when I first started studying, it was like from the early 1900s, and I believe that we are still adhering to the common law, but they have been slipping in these really diabolical penal codes. They can have an abstract warrant. They don't even have to have seen it. And that's because we have been lazy. And one of the reasons I asked you the question about what your
Did
thoughts
I
were,
did I give a pretty good answer?
you did, and it sounds to me as though that your focus is on how to basically train not just government, but the people, right?
Empowerment to the people.
Empowerment. And that kind of dovetails with the thoughts that I have, which is that I am the author and source of government. I know exactly where it is that I'm going, and I cause what's in my environment to bend to my will, basically. You know, I'm
Powerful
not,
statement.
I'm not God, okay? But your thoughts are going to create your reality. And I am as careful as I can about the words that I speak because those are also creations. And so if people want to get to a place where you know that you have the power in government, it comes down to moment thoughts that you have all day long. That's critical.
Yeah, I sometimes I rant like with my wife. I'll be talking yesterday. I had a long day working. Okay, I my head was cloudy, by 2 or 3 p.m. and I'm just sitting there with some kind of frustration, and I'm trying to understand why I'm so frustrated. But I'm sitting there, and my wife is in the kitchen, making some lunch and stuff, and I'm just kind of, you know, how would I say it, ranting or just talking, throwing my thoughts out there. But I was making sense, and I understood my frustration while I was trying to explain it to my wife. She has good ears, by the way. She doesn't always listen to me, but she has good ears. She acts like she's listening to me, but I love her dearly, man. But she allowed me to speak and keep speaking, and I was like, this is why I'm frustrated, and made a couple phone calls, and after that, I was like, just take the rest of the day. And I wasn't planning on going live last night, but then I spoke to Christo, and then I was like, you know what, bro, I'm gonna go live real quick. So
Uh-huh. Well, that reminds me of a video. I don't know if you've seen it, but it cuts, and the one guy says, "Women, listen," and the second guy cuts in. He goes, "They don't fucking do that. Do you not know women?"
that's hilarious.
Oh yeah. So I'm thrilled to hear that you found one of the good ones in your wife, because that's our reputation, that we can kind of close our
Yeah.
ears down, right?
Yeah, I've been with Nate's Skates mom for 22 years, and never a dull moment. We like each other. We love each other. We take care of our house problems at home. We don't give each other face in public. We don't talk down
Right.
to each other. We don't. We never fall asleep angry. She feeds me. She loves me. I love her dearly, and
And
she
she listens.
she's a big part of our channel, of my channel. She is a big intricate part behind the scenes. My wife has actually helped a lot of people monetize their channels, do a lot of things behind the scenes, a lot of things I don't know, so I have to have my wife either talk to them or email them or text them for me or whatever. But I actually do have a lot of support at home,
Hmm.
doing what I do, even if it's just allowing me to do what I do. Because not all wives, I've heard of wives not being happy when their husbands go out and cop watch, right? Because it's
Right.
dangerous
Right.
and get arrested. And some wives have left their husbands because of it. And so,
It's
yeah,
critical. Yeah. I mean, I don't have a husband, but I have some amazing people
right.
in my environment. Certainly my sister has been a huge help. And there's been other people that I call pretty much on the daily when I'm trying to work through what to do in the lawsuit.
Word. And
So I'm kind of like a wider swath than my nuclear family, but they are my family, and they, because I get really angry and frustrated sometimes with what's happening in the lawsuit, and I have a hard time processing how they're cheating. And sometimes, I've called my friends up and said, I need a pep talk because I don't know how I can keep going on with this. This has been 2.5 years. How can I keep putting one foot in front of the other? And I have some really, really beautiful people in my life. One of them, I don't know if you ever heard about it, but they stole his coffee shop from him back in, I think it was 2021, because he wasn't forcing people to wear masks. So they brought him into court repeatedly. They had his power shut off. He bought a generator to keep his making coffee. And the DA issued orders to have his generator stolen. And they came in with like a SWAT team or something and issued a restraining order against him that he could not go within 100 feet or 100 yards of his own coffee shop. And he built that business for 5 years. And they took it from him because he wasn't force people to wear masks or ask them about their
Right.
medical condition or something like that. So
You,
he's a fighter. I speak with him on a regular basis, and then I have a number of other friends that have been a huge support for me because it's not easy fighting this monstrosity, you know?
You know what would have been cool is if there would have been some kind of like app or website or something where you can prove that you had a business and you lost it because of that, where people can just donate to you. I mean, there's been a lot of situations where something happens and people put their donation links out there. Say, look, this person did this, happened to this person. You guys want to donate? And people will donate all kinds of money. That would have
Yeah,
been cool. You know what I mean? People that, you know, even people in government who don't agree with these types of things, who don't know how to challenge it because they'll lose their jobs. What if they can send a little money that way and say, well, here, at least I can help this way, man. You know, at least you put it on the line for all of us. Even if I work for government, here's some donations behind, the back door donation or something, so nobody sees, that I gave you money. But I want to
right.
support the people who stand up for my freedoms and stuff. I mean, that would have been a good idea, something nice. Maybe if something happens like that in the future, we support the people who lose it all, right?
Right, right. Yeah, because he's a salesman now. And I talked with him about starting a donations page, and I think he just got frustrated about it, and then he never got it together. But yeah,
That sucks.
particularly, I think, if someone speaks out when they're in government, because those are the ones that most need our support,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because they are standing up against the crowd. And if they knew that because here's the other thing, you will be rewarded if you make a tough decision in the moment. You have to have faith in that. And that's why I was talking about the devil's advocate earlier. And it took me a long time to try to put the pieces of the puzzle together with that movie. Have you seen it?
The Devil's Advocate. I seen it once when I was a kid. I haven't seen it in a long time, but to this very day, I refer to lawyers as the Devil's Advocate.
Yeah, that's why they called that movie is called
Right.
that, right?
Because you
But
defend bad people, right?
yeah, Kevin Lomax is an attorney, and he is about to get a known child molester off. And he goes into the bathroom and he looks in the mirror, and a reporter comes out and taunts him because he has a flawless record of getting all of his clients off. And he goes back in and he makes the decision he gets the guy free. And then he goes to New York and he has a huge apartment, and he winds up, this is spoiler alert, okay? He gets seduced by money. He's running after another woman. He loves his wife. She winds up killing herself. And then he winds up killing himself. And
Damn.
then the next scene is him jumping back from the mirror. And it took me a long time to figure this out. Okay. Then he goes back into court. He's in the same spot, and he quits being the guy's lawyer. He doesn't want to have anything to do with it. And then as he's walking down the stairs, the reporter says to him, you're going to be a star. And he said, no, I'm going to get disbarred. And he said, please do an interview with me tomorrow morning. And he looks at his wife, Marianne, and he goes, sure. So I figured out what happened. He never goes to New York. He doesn't try to seduce the other woman that he's working with. He has a moment of conscience in the mirror, and he decides to possibly throw away his entire career to do what's right. And then as he's leaving the courthouse, he is immediately rewarded for doing what's right. But he didn't know that when he's looking in the mirror, right? But that's why if you are in government, anywhere really, I guess, and you know that they are doing something which is immoral, you have a duty to your fellow man, to your husband, to your family, to stand up. And then if we had a donations page, you could, but you don't know this, right? You don't know what's going to happen when you quit. You could go destitute for a while, but you have to be willing to take that risk. But if you have faith in the laws of nature, and those all come from God, that is going to pay off. It will. If it was easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah, I've had personal situations where I tell myself, just do the right thing, and you'll be rewarded at the end. And I think I've
Mm-hmm.
been blessed along the way. I've been rewarded for doing the right thing, and I've been through some challenges myself. Whether it's through holding government accountable or just life itself. I always try to do the right thing, and I hope everybody else does too, but not everybody will. Like I was watching a documentary last night about Richard Ramirez, and the dude is evil as hell, right? And he was taught how to be just an evil person. His cousin taught him since he was young, and it's just like, and it showed a part where he was, sitting his cousin or his niece was saying that he was on the couch one time, he's reading a newspaper, and he told his niece, one day I'm gonna be all over this newspaper. And the niece was like, she didn't understand what he meant until later on. So the guy was evil. He was just a bad person. I mean, there were
Mm-hmm.
signs, there were all kinds of shit that he was a fucking bad dude. And
Mm-hmm.
so there's definitely good people on earth, and there's definitely bad people on earth. And just because you wear a
So,
uniform or you work in government, that doesn't automatically make you a good person. And I see people right away, oh, just follow, just listen to the cop, just obey. He wouldn't have died if he just obeyed, yada yada yada. It's like, I see these things happening, and it's just like, there's good and bad and everything, and cops will tell you that, but they don't seem to really want to hold themselves accountable. So we have no choice but to get out there and do it. Sometimes they do, sometimes they
right.
hold themselves accountable, but for the most part, we have to. It's our duty to hold them accountable. Any
Yeah,
last
that's right.
any last things you want to say?
I don't think so. Like are you willing to share the page that I sent you? Or do you not do that?
Oh, the give.
Donations page.
Yeah, let me put that on here really quick.
Yeah.
Oh shit, what did I do with it? What did I do with it? Here, let me resend it back to you. I got things, even when I mess up, I can figure things out sometimes. Give me one
Okay.
second. I'll put.
Okay. Stained glass panel around the country. You can go to my website and see some of my work. And that's what I wish I was doing full time. But considering in the courthouse, I have to continue because I have documents that are now due, and I cannot get to the glass work that allows me to pay my bills. So if you can throw a little bit in the pot to keep me going, and I really have a feeling that, I think that what I've done in the Northern District has really shaken them up. I think maybe it's just my ego. Maybe they don't think about me at all in there.
Do you
I
have a website?
I do. It's a www.theresabuccola.com.
All right, and you sell your stuff there as well?
I do. I have a few pieces. I'm going to make a video of some of my available pieces that are all done. And then I also do custom work. And most of the stuff that is on the stained and leaded glass tab is custom. So I can ship anywhere in the world, really. And you should get a piece that I make for you now, because I promise you it's going to turn out to be invaluable in a few years.
Do you ever do you ever go to farmers markets?
No, I have considered that, but my stuff is so fragile,
Oh, I see.
and it's swinging, or you know, maybe galleries. I might consider putting them into
Right.
galleries, but I haven't had the chance to do that because this lawsuit and unwinding from those criminal charges has takes up almost all my time. I'm able to squeak in a panel every couple of months. I just installed one at La Playa Hotel in Carmel. It's my biggest
Nice.
one
Wow.
ever. And then I had to do another one when I have beautiful glass, and I have to start cutting glass today or tomorrow. So yeah, if anybody wants to join in the fight, there's the page.
Yeah, you guys go pick yourself up a glass piece off Teresa's website, and the emails that you send me are really cool because you like show a picture of your glass things, right? Like, and they're different sometimes when you send them to me, right?
Yeah,
Really, really cool. I like that.
yeah, changing them whenever the newest piece that's been finished. So
Nice.
yeah,
Good job. Good work.
yeah.
Very talented. My daughter does she does a pop-up booth at farmers markets and stuff. She does like embroidery, crochet. She's a very, very talented kid.
Oh,
And
that's cool.
I really didn't want her doing anything like that until she had enough products and she didn't want to hold on to them. I didn't want her hobby to become a job because she won't enjoy the art. So I wanted her to enjoy the art first, and then she has a whole bunch of stuff now, and she likes to sell it at farmers markets, and I'm very proud of her.
Uh
And
huh.
it's
How
pretty
old
cool.
is she?
She is 16.
And she's already selling at farmers markets.
Yeah,
Wow, nice.
yeah. She's very, very. Since she was young, she's always been doing things, and I gotta tell you, her crochet stuff is better than what I see at the farmers markets.
Uh
Really cool
huh.
shit. Let me go grab something really quick. Check this out.
Oh, okay, sure. And I'll announce to anybody that is watching, my sister also does transcripts. So if you have a court proceeding that you want transcribed, I can't remember off the top of my head what her email address is right now, but you have mine. And if you want to contact me, I can put you guys in touch.
All right. Can you guys hear me still?
Yes.
All right. One sec. So this is one of the things that my daughter made. Little crocheted elephant.
Wow.
You know,
Wow.
she actually did a pig for me one time because I told her I need a pig with a badge on it. She didn't put the badge on it. She just made me a pig. But she does a lot of stuff, man, and I'm totally blown away by how talented she is. So,
Wow, that's
but
beautiful. So she crochets and does embroidery.
as well, yeah. So I'm gonna have her do some embroidery shirts for me, and I'm probably gonna sell them on my channel.
Uh
So,
huh.
but yeah, enough about my daughter's talents. You have amazing talents. You guys, go to www.com, Theresa Buccola, www.theresabuccola.com. Purchase one of her glass paintings. Is it a glass painting or what is it?
No, it's a stained glass panel.
Stained glass panel.
Yeah, so they're all separate, or leaded glass panel. So they're
Okay.
all separate pieces. Sometimes I do painting on glass, but typically not. I use the glass as the paintbrush, basically.
Oh, nice.
And
Okay.
I have my favorite ones on the top few rows. Yeah.
Are there some that you just won't sell because you like them too much?
I have a hard time parting with some of them.
I
Yeah.
get it. I understand.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like, I get separation anxiety
That's
and
hilarious.
having to leave them at the job site and know that I'm really not going to ever, be able to enjoy them. I get photos and videos and stuff like that, but um, I'll only see it on my computer screen. But that's why one of the fun things about being at La Playa, because I can go to the hotel whenever I want and see it, and it's huge. And the director of engineering and the general manager were like beaming when it got installed, and I was doing it at the same time that I was filing all these documents in the lawsuit. So yeah, I do have a hard time. I have a hard time
Yeah,
parting with
I
them
get it.
because they become a part of me, you know.
Yep.
So yeah, certainly.
All right, Teresa. Well, this has been very educational as well. I want to continue this talk in the future. We'll we'll talk on the phone. We'll text each other. We'll set up a date as well to do it more. Maybe we'll get somebody else on the panel with us, and we're just gonna try to have some discussions and try to build an arena where people can go to and get some kind of help. To do some of these things pro se.
Great. Yeah, I'd love to help. And I can't thank you enough, David. It's been really really fun being on here with you, and I thank everybody for watching. So
Thank you
yeah.
as well. You're very welcome, and thank you as well.
All right. God bless, David, and I'll talk to you soon.
All righty. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you,
Bye
Teresa.
bye.
All right. You guys, we're going to go ahead and end it. Big shout out to Teresa. Look, you guys can see my room. You guys ain't supposed to be seeing my room. I got like a living room in my room. Watch. Oh, this way. There's a TV right over here, and I get to sit on my couch. And, if I need a shot, I need a shot really quick. It's right there. Shout out to my son, Nicky. He brought over a couple bottles. So take a shot of some Howler Head there or something, right? There's my controller. Wait, there's my controller right there. I'll play the game. My room. My bed's a mess. You guys want to see my dirty bed? I didn't make my wife's side of the bed's made, but mine's not. Teresa, thank you so much for joining us, and all you guys in the chat. Thank you for all the love and support that you give, not just myself, but all the channels as well. It's a wonderful community, and I am just honored to be a part of it. So it's humbling. All right, guys. Love you all. Thank you for tuning in. See you on the next one.